Who was in the second match? We had RDU and Impact.
I
and
think we had Camlin.
Camlin
versus Powder,
yes.
yes. I was going to say, I knew Camlin was playing, I just wasn't 100% who his opponent was. So no doubt we'll get the score up pretty soon, as it looks like they are in game. And Powder having a pretty good performances overall this year, as it flashes up that he's 2-0 down.
It's 2-0 down, yeah, exactly.
But you know, Powder's, I feel, is just always on the cusp of like greatness.
Sure.
But just needs, like, you know, a win like a Dreamhack win, and he's completely capable, but just not quite getting there. Just performing well in all the tournaments or most of the tournaments he plays in, but not really huge, but like standout performance overall.
Yeah, I think he's definitely ascended to a new level since he hooked up with the SK guys. He was kind of had a fairly nomadic existence for a while, hopping around from team to team, but he's really settled in with the SK guys now and got himself to work. So now we are into what looks to be potentially the last game if Camlin can lock it down. It looks like Camlin has followed the Impact school of thought, and he's just going to try and sweep with Yogg Druid.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not a bad idea. There's a lot of players just believe that Yogg Druid is one of, if not the strongest deck in general, and we've seen a lot of that being proven over the course of today, at least so far. But Camlin is for those who don't know, he's actually becoming more and more prevalent in the scene now. He's a very intelligent player, and again, is another player who actually like super performs in almost any tournament he plays in. He's been attending a lot of LANs recently as well.
So there's two schools of thought on the the Mulligan and Raven Idol. You can either keep it because it gives you extra shots at Innovate and Wild Growth, essentially, when you just discover a spell on turn 1, or you can throw it away to just try and hit your actual Innovates and Wild Growths more often, and then you have Raven Idol in your deck, which is arguably the best card in your deck with Violet Teacher and Fandral.
Yeah.
In terms of being a cheap spell for Violet Teacher, which you can then power the wild after for not very much mana, and Fandral Raven Idol is just a play that it doesn't demand setup. It's just Fandral Raven Idol.
And it's always good.
Yeah,
it's just always good. And that was going to be, I was just going to say, that was an interesting choice there. Swipe was an option, and it looks like Cameron's 2-0 up. He lost his Warlock. Okay, so Powder has won a game. So I was just going to say, would have relied if this was a new deck, then the swipe the choice was weird because you don't expect Reno, right? You're just not expecting it. But obviously, Cameron looks like he has lost a game, so the score was just updated. Where Cameron has lost versus this Reno lock, so he knew it was, hence the Nourish pick.
Yeah, that one by Powder's name changes everything. Of course, that means that CC isn't currently sweeping with Druid. He's been getting the work done with Warlock, so this will be the first game he would have played Druid, and he's picked it deliberately into the Reno lock, which is an interesting decision in itself. You're a pretty big Reno lock player. You must have played against some Yogg Druids. How do you feel about this matchup?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it can come down to Yogg, to be honest, because as the Reno lock, you have some of the best AoE in the game if you draw it, right? And the token aspect of this deck, you can actually deal with quite well. Obviously, if you don't, and then Savage Roar comes out, you've got some problems. But overall, I think because the token druid favors the slower later game and just likes time to draw the cards, create crazy combos with Fandral, I think that is the main reason why you'd pick this. And again, due to the AoE, I'm not sure what Cameron's Warrior is, of course, but Reno generally has a pretty good matchup versus Warrior or most Warrior decks overall. Please pick Astral Communion.
We were having a discussion earlier.
Yeah, I knew he wasn't going to.
Yeah,
though.
no, of course. He's never going to pick it there, but we were having a discussion earlier. You were telling me a story about, you picked Astral Communion when you had Innovate off turn 1 with this deck, and we were talking about whether or not it was right, because, sure, it's great. You can potentially draw a lot of high-value cards in your deck, but you're also playing a very combo-heavy deck. You don't want to have an empty hand, so... but Astral Communion at this late into the game, when your hand is this packed full of value already, you're never taking that in that situation.
The story I was told about was basically turn 2 Astral Communion.
Yes.
And it was on ladder, so you do it for the lulz, right? Let's be honest.
Were you streaming? Because that also changes everything.
I think I was, actually,
Well, if you're streaming, you do it 100%.
And the most important part was my next draw after Astral Communion was Nourish.
Yeah.
So that, of course it's great. What are you talking about?
Drawing Nourish as the next card was obviously the correct play.
Exactly.
Interesting. Powder took a Gadgetzan Jouster there when he had the Xerus option. quite often. Wow! I've never seen that interaction. I didn't know it worked like that. Yeah. I've never seen that before. Like, so you only have to win one of them in order to win? Because he lost the first one.
It can buff twice.
It can buff twice?
Yeah, because the joust happened. It says joust, get +1/+1. Okay. Joust, get +1/+1.
I've literally never played a joust minion with Bran in my life.
Yeah, it buffs twice. I'm almost certain because it just does it twice. Like that's just what happens.
That makes sense.
But the reason for that is so what Powder doesn't want to do is lose to like Violet Teacher madness that he can't clear. He does have Demon Wrath, so there's an option. But with silly things like double power of the wild, and like again we were just talking about what this deck can do in form of its combos later on. He just wants the board to just answer almost any minion that's played.
Sure.
So even if like Teacher Innovate Power of the Wild, well, he can probably just deal with the board, even with that. So you just get the early minion, even though there was a potentially, like Zerish could be great, but it could also be useless, like completely useless for a couple of turns. And then what's the point?
That is going to turn out to be a pretty timely swipe for c4mlann, because although it's not done great things to the board, only taking out the Bran, that Defender of Argus draw would have been devastating if he hadn't have chosen to swipe on that turn.
Yeah. I mean, even Defender of Argus now doesn't look too bad, because you've just seen the swipe. And he puts the minions at enough damage to start pressuring the Druid, actually, and pretty much relying on him just not being able to deal with this board after seeing the swipe. But we do see that there are options in hand.
Yeah, and there is the Violet Teacher that you talked about, but only the Living Roots to go with it at the moment, which is, not the worst thing in the world, but Druid of the Claw is reasonably solid on this board. It's whether he wants to go all in on a big Teacher turn later, because, Teacher Living Roots is the best play purely on this board right now that he can make, but does he want to value that and just go with Druid of the Claw into Emperor next turn, try and get a big nutty Violet Teacher turn sometime in the future?
The problem is that the longer you wait with the Violet Teacher turn, the Warlock has the best AoE you're going to get.
Yeah,
it has Shadow Flame, has Twisting Nether, so you can do this, all this craziness, then it does 0 damage because it just gets killed. So I actually like the Violet Teacher now. Just get it on the board, get the token, and start just fighting for the board at this point, because you can clearly see Powder wanted the board early on with the Gadget Zen pick. So you just try and get something on the board, get it to stick. If it doesn't stick, then removal's been used. Great, because then cards like Fandral are going to be stickier later on.
Oh, yeah, by the way, if the Jouster can actually buff twice in that situation, there is 100% the pick. Because
of Bran.
Yeah, because of Bran. Like, normally that's the kind of peddler that you take Zerus from, because it's like, this card's meh, this card's meh. Zerus could potentially be amazing. I'll take the risk on a Zerus.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, if the Jouster could have come down as a 3/4, then sure, you take the Jouster.
Just casual 1 mana 3/4. So this might be the Emperor turn, purely because creating like a 1 mana Power of the Wild makes it extremely easy to work into combos with Fandral later on.
Yeah.
And Emperor's not really threatened by anything on the board at the moment, and requires like an additional removal tool, which seems fine anyway. But even just a card draw from Nourish to then go into Emperor, which seems a bit off curve, but you fill your hand more and you just get more value overall. But I kind of like the Emperor there.
Yeah,
reduces the Starfall as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's not an immediately glorious Emperor in terms of like discounting a huge combo play that you can straight away do next turn, but it does a lot of good things. It gives Powder a problem to deal with this turn, which, you are trying to be the aggressor in this matchup as the Yogg Druid primarily, so anytime you can seize the initiative and make your opponent have an answer, that's probably a solid turn. And it also, like you said, 4 mana Nourish, 4 mana Starfall, 4 mana Druid of the Claw, like these are pretty aggressive plays in the following turn, or faster plays than they would have been in the following turn. So, and it's a good turn to disrupt, honestly, turn 6, because Sylvanas is one of the most powerful, most problematic cards in Reno Lock a lot of the time. So you can disrupt a potential turn like that.
And we can see as well with our glorious caster vision is that if it came down next turn, then there was an option to just Sylvanas PO and just steal the Emperor and then steal the value there. So as you said, just disrupting the turn 6 seems to be working out pretty well, as Powder's got a few awkward choices to make. He's going to start off with a tap, and having Reno in hand now is huge. I've been playing, or at least I was playing a lot of Reno Lock, and I got to the point pretty swiftly that I just never mulliganed away Reno. Just always kept it in every single matchup.
Yeah,
so having it available is really huge now, because Powder can play a bit more loose, and then be a bit more risky with things.
Yeah, of course. You keep Reno all the time. It's the entire reason you're playing the deck you're playing. And like you said, it's not just that you need to draw the card at some point. It's knowing what position it is in your deck, i.e. in your hand. That gives you freedom to just do everything else that you want. It's like, I can tap this turn. I have Reno.
And the best Reno players actually push Reno till the last possible second. They actually just eke out every single bit of health and try and Reno for at least 20 a lot of the time just to get like insane value from the card.
Yeah, so if you watch people like streaming Reno Lock at a high level, it's like at the start of basically every turn, it's okay. Do I die here if I don't play Reno? If the answer to that question is no, they don't play Reno. They play something else.
Or even if it's probably not, you still
exactly.
just don't play. You still hit that life tap.
Right. So now Sylvanas on an empty board, not the ideal scenario for a Sylvanas, but it'll have to be good enough because he doesn't really have any other proactive play going on. So Sylvanas is going to come down. Still not an easy thing to answer from a Druid. As I was going to say, there is only that one copy of Mulch that I talked about before when I was referring to the 7/7, and there is the Mulch being drawn straight away.
Yeah, I was just looking at what potentially can fill the rest of his turn with, because I genuinely think that you want to Fandral Power of the Wild twice in the same turn, and that won't quite fit.
Do you? That's an awful big commitment into a potential AoE.
Yeah, but if they don't have it, you just win.
Right, but you can also, like, I
guess he's got the means to go wide enough the second time, right?
Right, my goal against decks that play a lot of AoE as he mulches him into Tyrion is that I try and, you know, keep enough back in reserve to go wide 3 times. So, like, I'll make one Fandral board that they need to AoE, then I'll make a Violet Teacher Power of the Wild board that they need to AoE, then I'll play Cenarius that they need to AoE, or Onyxia or whatever they're playing. So you kind of want to break it up in that way to demand multiple answers from multiple turns from them.
Yeah, he looks like he's just going for the hero power here. Don't think he's going to play Power of the Wild on this board, as it's only 2 minions, not too strong. But as you mentioned halfway through, and laced it in quite well.
Did I mention
a
that's
casual
a
mulch into a Tyrion?
There
and c4mlann leans back, laughs. Definitely just appreciates how frustrating that card can be.
Yeah,
and that's the risk when you play mulch.
I agree with the well-played choice. Yeah, Powder agrees it was a mistake. So, you know,
shouldn't play mulch.
c4mlann accepts that Powder played well by selecting Tyrion from that mulch, where, of course, Powder says that was a mistake, because why did c4mlann choose to give him Tyrion from the mulch? I mean, that's just terrible.
How crazy would it be if mulch gave your opponent Discover a minion? That would be sick.
Ugh.
Not for the guy who played mulch, though.
No one would play mulch at that point.
But that's the price you pay for a 3-mana destroy any minion in the game card. So sometimes Tyrion.
Sometimes Tyrion, indeed. But looks like we are.
Look at all the glowing effects. It's so pretty. Can actually just do anything.
So is he going to hero power Tyrion and then Starfall Tyrion, which will be a board clear if he throws in the 2/2 as well?
Yeah, I think that's worth it. Is he not a board clear anyway? Does both effects? 5 damage and 2, right?
Oh, yeah, right. What am I talking about?
Yeah.
Sure.
What are you talking about, Sal? Oh, he's just going for the huge Power of the Wild turn, so he goes for double, and
so he's just going to leave the Tyrion up? Yeah. Interesting. Okay, because, yeah, this board, like... Or is he going to bust through Tyrion with the minions? No, he is going to leave Tyrion up. Interesting. So I guess, like, the answer to this is, like, okay, how does he deal with this board? A, Twisting Nether, B, Shadow Flame, in which case he deals with his own Tyrion for me, so why should I deal with his Tyrion?
Yeah, but the Druid on 15, Tyrion gets to attack in any of those scenarios that he can go face, and the board's clear, and he gets to hit with the weapon.
Right.
So that puts the Druid to 4, which is pretty scary.
Right.
But it is going to be the attack into the Fandrels. We see there's actually a very limited amount of AoE. There is only Demon Wrath available, so there isn't the Shadow Flames or the Twisting Nethers that would have been pretty huge, actually. But the Demon Wrath is going to help get some work done. It is going to make the weapon equipable, as Tyrion does also die to Demon Wrath. And with the help of Immortal Coil as well, done a pretty good job clearing this board, considering he had the lowest impact AoE in the hand.
Yep. Sorry, just going back to the... I've been thinking about the stuff. It comes down to which order the effects happen in, right? If the 5 damage happens first, then you need to take off the shield, because otherwise the 5 damage will hit the shield. I'm not actually sure which of the 2 effects happens first when you cast it.
Do you not just hero power the shield?
Yeah, but that's what we're talking about. You said he didn't have to hero power the shield, because the 2 damage AoE would clear the shield and then the 5 would hit it.
No, I thought you said you had to trade the minion in as well.
Yeah, you would, right? Because Starfall does 5.
Yeah, and then the 2 AoE. To do 7. That's what I mean. You just attack the shield,
Yeah,
play
yeah,
Starfall,
yeah.
and it's dead.
Yeah,
as well as the Voidwalker.
Sure.
So, yeah, that's definitely an interesting one.
Crisis averted.
Yeah. You started making me question myself, and I was like, no, I'm pretty sure I was right with that.
Yeah, that's fine. Ancient War is probably the potential play here. He does have Violet Teacher Nourish if he wants to go that line, which he can still fit the hero power in as well.
He could even Violet Teacher double 4-drop. Sorry, Violet Teacher Druid of the Claw, hero power the 4-1.
Yeah,
and then just push damage.
Because he's just seen a not very effective AoE turn happen, so unless that was a play from Powder that was like, okay, I'm going to hold on to my universal AoE for when I just don't have any answers at all, then you can be pretty confident that there aren't really big AoE effects in the hand. Yeah,
and it seemed like, even if he was making that play, it seemed like a sort of long way to go about things if he just had an AoE to do it. You know, like, it seemed very, like, crazy to try and pull something like that off if you just had a Shadow Flame, for example. So Reno is obviously an option here with the old tap into Reno, but doesn't really do too much. And as we said, like, the board's actually presenting a reasonable threat. And this is one of the situations you try and avoid. Maybe not as bad at the moment, but you don't want to Reno when your opponent just hits you for half your health again, because then you just set up the same situation. Except you have a 4-6, but a lot of the time, unless you have Shadow Flame with Reno, so what's a 4-6 going to do to a wide board? That's generally the problem.
Yeah, and suddenly these two taunts, the Druid of the Claw into the potential Ancient of War later, like you said, there's that Ashbringer was just almost threatening lethal on its own if these taunts weren't drawn, and suddenly the taunts have reversed the state of the game where now it's Powder having to find the answers and he's just not drawing them. So it is going to be a Reno play. He's going to go for the maximum board presence, but smartly gets the damage onto the 4-6 first by using one of the weapon swing in order to get a little bit of extra Reno value out of it. But if this board doesn't get dealt with at some point, if there isn't another high-impact AoE getting drawn, then the Druid is going to be able to continue leveraging a board position here.
Yeah, there's even potential now of just Starfall into the Reno for 5, swipe the Imp Gang Boss and hero power.
Yep.
You generate 2 tokens, get to hit him for, what, 11, 12? 11, because you use the hero power to kill the token.
Yep.
So, yeah, this seems like a pretty reasonable play this turn. Like, you don't need the Ancient of War because your opponent's just told you he doesn't have Twisting Nether. More than likely.
Yeah, almost certainly. You might put Hellfire in his range, which would still be a relatively good board clear because he could still Hellfire and hit down the Violet Teacher.
Yeah.
So that would work out. But yeah, I mean, Hellfire would probably be okay for you in this situation. But you're going to see the Nourish come out, and he has picked up a bunch of spells that he can start generating board with. And like you said, if you have the no AoE read, then suddenly going the token route with the Violet Teacher is pretty powerful.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. And even has the option, if he wants, to actually just be able to play Wrath with Living Roots this turn to clear off with the Innovate. It looks like he's holding on to the Innovate for a bigger next turn, which seems fine. He's only trading away the 4-1 anyway. So that was, susceptible to Mortal Coil or just any AoE in the game anyway. So it's like a pretty good turn, representing still strong board again. Cult Apothecary on this wide board is going to be reasonably nice, but again, they just can't really greatly clear off the minions. Hellfire, definitely a lot better there.
Yeah, Hellfire does the job, but it will be his only play this turn. But it's just mandatory, right?
Yeah.
You can't let this board live. Ragnaros isn't going to get anything done. The Apothecary is just delaying the inevitable. Like, you need to deal with the board. So even though Hellfire is essentially passing your turn in terms of initiative, it just has to be done there. And now C4mlann does have a free turn to redevelop, but not too much going on. That Ancient of War is kind of down to being his last threat for now, but still does have some gas presumably left in his deck. Not sure what exactly makes up his list, but I was just about to say we haven't seen Drakes yet, for example, which could potentially be important.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see even like more of Powder's list, because we've not seen anything that's too strong of an archetype choice of Reno.
He had Villager, so I'm pretty sure it's N'Zoth.
Ah, okay, yeah. I was going to say, we've not really seen many Death Rattles, we've not seen Leroy.
Right.
It's normally one of the two,
Yeah.
but we've not really seen too much of anything yet.
I'm pretty sure we saw Villager, right?
I actually just don't remember.
Okay.
But even the Ancient of War, the Druid's on 9 health, hero power to 10, but there is just a Rag available, which could end this game pretty quick.
Yeah, 9 is a nice number to be at, though. This is one of the things that you can do to just play around Rag. Ragnaros is one of those cards that kind of gets a lot of stick for being, a card with random effects, but unlike, say, Yogg-Saron, its effects are within a certain predictable range.
It's going to do 8 damage to something on the other side of the board.
So it's
Ancient of War.
Wow.
It is N'Zoth.
Wait, confirmed. Do you know what's a giveaway that someone's playing N'Zoth?
The card N'Zoth.
Yes.
Yeah, it's normally a little telltale sign. But the Ancient of War, I genuinely was going to say was an option because, as you said, Ancient of War being one of the only threats as your Drake, he did draw into. But you kind of need to finish this game, and you've seen Reno, and there's nothing on the Warlock side of the board. You've seen a lot of like removal tactics from the Warlock.
You saw
other
like
than
Shadow Bolt get used.
Yeah,
as
it's
well,
like Siphon Soul like is the only card
does it either way.
Yeah, which straight up does this, and Spellbreaker's been used. So there's really just not a lot left to do this, and this is just a 2-turn clock straight away.
So I mean, do we put our faith in
just
Senor
rag.
Del Fuego?
Yeah, yeah. You just actually rag.
I mean, what does he have from N'Zoth, right? Like, I mean, I guess that's the other consideration here. Is like if he 5-10 and then his opponent N'Zoth's against him, there's another Sylvanas inside the N'Zoth, right? Which you don't want to have a 5-10 against. So it's actually pretty solid recognition of the situation. Does he have anything else? He's going to Apothecary.
What does the extra 7 damage? That's my question. Not a lot, right? From Druid?
No.
You've seen Druid of the Claws. So
yeah.
the 4 charge.
It would have to be like Savage Roar plus a source of 4 damage. So
yeah,
like Savage Roar plus Swipe, Savage Roar
It just
plus
seems
Druid
very
Roar.
unlikely, whereas Rag, you either put your opponent to 1 or you kill the 10-5.
Sure.
Like, there is no particularly super bad outcome as far as I could see. I thought Rag was actually just the obvious choice, to be honest.
But bear in mind as well that like we have to consider that c4mlann's at 9 here. So although he's just jammed a 10-5 on the board, he doesn't necessarily just get to be the aggressor by default.
Yeah.
If Powder just loads up a board like he's done here, then c4mlann has to have answers for it in order to like justify himself going face again. Of course, that's where he wants to send the 10 damage. You don't play a 10-5 to trade with. You play a 10-5 to jam your opponent in the face. But in order to be able to justify doing that, he has to be able to defend his own life total as well, which might have been Powder's thinking. But, I mean, it's easy to sit here and say, yeah, Powder, tournament life potentially on the line. Of course, you just play Rag. But, like, from his perspective, maybe this is a bit of a timid play or whatever. Maybe he's just thinking about it a different way. But, I mean, I certainly just felt like Rag was the option there.
Yeah. I guess the thing to think about with Rag is he can play the minions this turn. If one of them survives, he can attack with it and then play Rag for the win.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have a direct source of that 1 extra damage. But it just felt like both outcomes were so good that it was difficult not to play it. And c4mlann has managed to clear, but he is on 6 now. So 33%, pretty sure you take that.
Well, now you just have no other place to survive.
Yeah, because there's nothing else that changes.
Unless there's a magical taunt I've forgotten about that he's played with Death Rattle.
Sludge Belcher returns out of nowhere.
I'm pretty sure there hasn't been. Then you only have...
Yeah, so it looks like...
What?
There's a 33% for Rag.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Sorry, Throwdowns just appeared out of nowhere and just screamed Tyrion at us. But wait, has Powder forgotten about Tyrion as well?
Yeah.
In which case, like, you just have to... Wow. I mean, like, we're no one to criticize because we're just as dumb. Like, we totally forgot it. Wow. That's actually incredible.
So there's not actually enough damage to finish the game unless c4mlann draws into...
wow.
Oh, Mulch. Hang on, does c4mlann play 2 Mulch in his deck?
It looks like he does,
He didn't Raven Idol a Mulch, right?
I don't think so, no. We haven't
no, he got nourished, didn't he?
We haven't seen Feral Rage, which is quite often like that kind of flex spot.
Slot.
Yeah, so he's obviously just playing 2 Mulch, but yeah. I mean, we forgot. We forgot about Tyrion, but the real big question is, has Powder forgotten about it as well?
That's all I've got. So it looks like he's going for Cairn into Shadow Flame to clear the minions and have a minion to threaten the board the next turn, but which I actually think is a good play. But, I mean, anything kills you at this point anyway, right? Regardless of the spell power from the Drakes.
I'm not going to lie. This game is so much crazier than I thought it was. I mean, I guess we scenarios, right?
Yeah, the problem with Wrath is it stops you playing scenarios. You could Wrath into something to kill, Living Roots to end the game. But if you don't hit it, you could well just die. So scenarios feels a lot more steady, especially because you've seen Hellfire and Demon Wrath.
Yeah.
Demon Fire, same. Tomato, right?
Close enough.
You knew what that meant.
But yeah, I mean, c4mlann will be considering his outs here. We can't quite see how many cards he has left, for example, but he'll know what his odds are. And, he has to consider the odds of Scenarius winning the game for him here versus the very easily calculable odds of how likely he is to draw lethal, depending on outs like Living Roots, etc., and any sources of damage like Swipe, Druid of the Claw that he has left. So he's going to have to make the decision, like, how likely, what's the percentage of Cenarius winning the game right here versus the percentage of just cycling Wrath?
Yeah, I think I like the Cenarius play overall.
I like it too, yeah.
It just feels so safe. It's like just not anywhere near as risky.
I tell you a play that I also do like, now that we've all remembered there's a Tyrion, is just playing N'Zoth at some point in this game.
Yeah. But again, the Siphon Soul feels clean because you just don't die to... are you still out? Yeah, you're out of range of living. Oh, no, because you can only kill one, right? Yeah, so...
Oh, he's almost out of cards. Wow.
Yogg! Oh,
wait,
look.
what's the last card? He must know what his last card is, right?
Yeah, so he knows whether he needs to draw it or not with the Wrath.
Yeah, so this is just relying on him to have had better track of his deck. His
so he can
cards
still
are green.
cast a...
His cards are green. His Yogg can attack. The game's over if it hasn't been humilitied.
Unless there's a taunt.
If it hasn't been humilitied or he doesn't summon an opponent a taunt, this game is over. Yeah, he must have charged it. But
Mind Blast. There we go.
My God.
Never mind. Mind Blast finishes the game. c4mlann having Yogg as his second to last card in such an intense match.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Cycle that through. That was a second Druid of the Claw. I'm not sure. We have seen one.
I mean, there's so many different ways to build.
Yeah,
the,
you can only
token
run one
druid.
if you want.
Yeah, sometimes you play one, sometimes you play 0. I mean, I'm not sure if we saw 2 routes. I mean, I'm going to be perfectly honest. We made a mess of that game just purely from forgetting about Tyrion, but it seems like Powder did as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, like we said, we'll have to find out if c4mlann knew what his last card is, and in that case, what it was, if he even wants to reveal that. But
I want to ask
more importantly,
c4mlann if he knew about.
Does he know? Yeah, does he know that if N'Zoth would have been played,
that would be basically GG, because you have no way of coming through a second Tyrion, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's an easy explanation why Powder did forget about it, right? Because it's not Druid, and you have no graveyard.
We forgot, and we were sat just casting.
You don't have a graveyard, and you can go for, oh, I have this card. Yes, yes. I will play in Zod. But we will have c4mlann here.
Hi, guys.
Congrats, man.
Thanks
but
a lot.
first, before we have anything else to say, did you know what is your last card in the deck?
Wild Growth.
What?
Wild Growth?
Wild Growth. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, because we were like, he's either going to Wrath because it gives him lethal, or
Yogg's
getting played, and then
no,
that's it.
I was like, oh, what's the other one? It's Yogg. I guess it's Yogg, yeah. But the other guy? Yeah, it has to be Wild Growth.
So the really important thing about that last game, and again, I want to ask you if you'd figured it out, is that Powder actually had N'Zoth in his hand for that whole time, and I think he forgot that he'd get a Tyrion back if he played N'Zoth. Was that something that you'd considered, or had you forgotten about it as well?
No, I was just wondering why he didn't play it.
Right. Because we both forgot about it as we were casting. Like Frodan came running over and was like, "He gets a Tyrion back."
Yeah.
But like that, it had to have been the play on like multiple turns for him to just N'Zoth and get a new Tyrion.
You could have played it right after you played it Ancient of War with a ballsy play, by the way, with the 10-5.
Yeah, I had to
congrats on that. But yeah, right after that, after your play, you could have just slammed in Zod and had a Tyrion. That would have protect him from the 10-5.
Double Tyrion as Warlock seems to be like
yeah, it seems
good.
okay,
Pretty
right?
good.
Yeah,
seems good. Seems good. It's like 31 damage or even more.
Yeah.
Good,
sorry, 27.
I thought he hasn't drawn it yet, but okay. Then.
So obviously we joined your series kind of halfway through. Can you talk to us maybe a little bit about how the early games go? Obviously, if you don't want to reveal stuff, that's understandable, but just maybe like a feel for how things went on early.
I just won twice with Zulok.
Okay.
That's
easy.
basically it.
Easy. Yeah,
Anything special in your Zulok as a deck?
Just
No comment is probably the correct answer.
Animals in a zoo.
Yeah. Zoo cards. I'm playing those. They're quite good.
Zooey minions.
Yeah, just basic zoo, basically.
Nice.
Okay. Well, so you know what your score is currently 3-1, right?
No, 4-0.
4-0.
Yeah.
That's even better then.
Yeah.
Well, so you need 3 wins basically here to celebrate already a top 16 basically, right? There's a very small chance that at 7-2 that the last games will be not in the top 16. So you're on a good track.
Okay.
Is this your first Swiss tournament?
No. I played Birmingham top 4, and I did the Insomnia one, and
You're at Summer, Dreamhack Summer, right?
Dreamhack Summer I played, yeah. Not too successful, but I played it.
So you have a lot of experience. That's good to good for the viewers to know, because you are still a new face, let's say, on the competitive scene for the viewers, I guess, right?
Yeah, I'm a German streamer, so like in Germany, people know me, and in this scene, I played some tournaments.
Well, we had an occasion to cast together, right? In Leipzig.
In Leipzig, yeah.
So, What can you tell us about this tournament in particular? Is this your first time in Valencia when it comes to Dreamhacks? I think so, right?
Yeah, in Valencia it's my first time. I've been quite a lot to Barcelona and Spain in general, and haven't seen the city yet. It has to be like a lovely city, and the location. We just arrived, and I just sat down and played. I just played.
Right.
So it takes up a lot of the day, actually, just grinding through Swiss matchups, to be fair.
Does.
Yeah, I had almost every round the longest matchups, so I'm where to get out of here.
Okay, so last question, since you're taking so long during the rounds. Did you prepare for with a team here for the metagame, or how did you practice?
Yeah, I practiced with my team, Flow Esports, and yeah, I wasn't too happy in the end with my lineup, but it's great, I guess.
Seems to be going okay for now, at least. Yeah.
I mean, we know that you have Zoo and Yogg-Druid in it, and that seems to be working out fine so far. So.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing you have a shaman there as well.
Yeah.
How
do you know?
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
I think we have to go and try and relearn how to count cards properly so we can successfully cast Hearthstone tournaments.
Yeah, well, we can do that, sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, congrats again. We will be going to a break, and you can prepare for your 5th round here in Valencia. So, guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be going to a break, and we'll be back with the 5th round soon.